And we're live here on YouTube. I'd like to welcome those listening in podcast land, and also my buddy Rich. Rich, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Mike. It was a hot week out in the warehouse this week, and it doesn't look like the heat wave is going to end anytime soon.
Do you want to trade?
So,
Because it was
no,
not hot here. I can tell you that it wasn't
okay,
hot here, but we got 21 inches or so of rain in the last 2 days or the last 3 days.
yeah, I'll take the heat over the rain.
There's water under me now. It's not like it's under a pad and it's evaporating and it's gonna do what it does. But yeah, it's bad.
Okay,
We have record flooding in Spencer. We have record flooding we have record flooding here in Esterville. We have the lakes are higher than they've ever been. If you go to my socials, you'll see some of the craziness. Yeah, it's devastating. I do like. I'm gonna put a request out there right now. If you can, just pray for this area. It's shockingly bad, and where legitimately, the city of Spencer had to shut down their sewage plant,
mm,
and they only have one. So basically, if you're in Spencer, you can't flush your toilet.
ouch.
So we're trying to. I need to make some calls and see if I need to, like, if my boss needs to come up and stay for a couple days, or I don't know what we're gonna do. And they're saying the crest isn't gonna have, like, it's already 7 feet up buildings that are half a mile from the river down there, and they're saying that it's not gonna crest until Monday.
Mm. So there's still more rain coming.
There's more rain today.
Okay,
After today, tomorrow and Monday are supposed to dry up. Tuesday, more rain. Dry Wednesday, Thursday, and I think Friday, more rain again.
wow.
So,
That is crazy. So, Mike, we'll probably make it a short show, because I have my parents coming over tonight for a belated Father's Day get together,
yeah,
as we were busy with Amy's side of the family last weekend, and you got some work to do around the house,
I
but
got
the show goes on.
some shoplifting
The
to
show
do.
goes
Yeah.
on. The
Okay,
show will
Rich.
go on.
Speaking of the show going on, we have some results from playoffs,
We do.
and we get to talk about a Game 7. What else do we got, Rich?
Well, Mike, we'll be going into the NASCAR corner, as we got to talk about the Iowa Speedway race, as well as the upcoming race at the Magic Mile, as well as we got to talk some Cubs, and we'll finally get into something that we pushed off from last week, which was Caitlin Clark and the Olympics. But Mike, all that and more, but what do we got to do first, bud?
We got to roll the intro. Broadcasting live from somewhere in Iowa. This is Balls and Sticks, the podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Rich. And we're back. Okay, Rich, before we get into any of it, we got to talk Lucky Charms versus Fruity Pebbles.
Yes, we do. This was a no-brainer for me. Fruity Pebbles all the way.
Ooh, and I can't call our tiebreaker because he just left on the road.
Oh,
So, let me see.
are we tied?
We are 100% tied. Let me see. Nope. Is your wife nearby?
She is. She just stepped out to the garage. Hold on.
Okay. So, while Rich goes and gets his wife,
I have her here. Fruity Pebbles or Lucky Charms?
Pretty Pebbles. Lucky Charms are shit.
hey, that went on. Tell her that went on the air. We heard her.
The and the texture of the marshmallows.
Okay.
I cannot stand
We heard that.
Yeah.
Much of a texture person, but that is like the one food that no,
Yep.
no.
Fruity Pebbles.
Okay, so the winner
Yeah,
this
I will eat
week.
the whole box before one marshmallow.
Nah,
Yeah.
you guys.
For her, I mean, you've seen like the boxes. I think even when I've worked at the at a food bank that I volunteer at twice a month, we've come through and we've had the just marshmallows
Yum.
from Fruity Pebbles. So she's the opposite. She would have the cereal is okay, but it's the marshmallows that get her.
That's where the flavor is. So with that, Fruity Pebbles wins. Balls and Sticks, the podcast actually voted for Fruity Pebbles.
Okay.
On behalf of
As our
Amy.
tiebreaker. Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So Mike, have you ever had Fruity Pebbles Rice Krispie treats where you use
yes,
Fruity
I have.
Pebbles instead of Rice Krispies?
Yes, I have, and they're delicious. And I
are.
like Fruity Pebbles, but Lucky Charms is where it's at.
All right, Mike. So this week, we could have a lopsided result, but we're gonna have those,
Yep.
and we're gonna go French toast and hash browns.
Okay.
French toast and hash browns.
Just so you know, the people that voted for Fruity Pebbles: Keaton Werner, Josh Hendricks, Danielle Hart, Rich, you did, and then your wife or Balls and Sticks if you look at it. For Lucky Charms, your Pam Hendricks, Jason Flanker, me, and Mikey O'Roderer.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for voting. Look for our poll to go live after we get off of the air. Make sure to like, share, and vote on it.
Yep.
And we'll share the results on next week's show. All right, Mike. So we got to get into the playoffs. We have the results of 2, and we have a game 7 to talk about. So we'll start with the 2 that have results. And we'll start with the NBA Finals as the Boston Celtics did a gentleman's sweep of the Dallas Mavericks 4-1. Jaylen Brown is your Finals MVP, 18th title to lead the NBA in franchise titles, and I get a free lunch out of it.
You do get a free lunch out of it. Rich, in the Stanley Cup Finals, the Panthers took a 3-0 lead. The Oilers, however, have fought their way back. Game 7 in Florida Monday night, when we have a crest for our rivers. Yay.
All right, in our final, the UFL, the Birmingham Stallions won 25-0 over the San Antonio Brahmas. So the first UFL championship goes to the USFL Conference. And Mike, I know that we've talked on this probably before with how to fix the UFL, but is it too soon for expansion? Should they relocate some teams, or do they stick with the same 8 teams that they have in the same markets?
I don't mind the team. They need to move some of them. Any team that has an NFL team nearby, move out. Let's get a team in Salt Lake City. Let's get
So I think we even extensively talked about this, where you had lists where we actually had a list go on about markets that you should relocate to. And
so St. Louis is a great one. Detroit needs to be moved to, or they don't have a Detroit? I thought they had a Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit is the Michigan Panthers.
Oh,
and they play in Ford Field, home of the Lions.
So they need to move Michigan. So move Michigan to is Milwaukee too close? Like, is that Green Bay? Is that too close?
I think that is. I've heard that they might go into Canton, Ohio.
That'd be a great one. So Detroit can move to Canton. Arlington can move to Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
Houston can move to Utah. DC needs to move to Oakland.
Now, I have heard when I've watched different videos on this when they're where they've talked about where they should expand to, or
Yeah.
and where I think that the California's labor laws could get in the way of a spring football league going into California. So while San Diego and Oakland could be good
How
markets to
does
go
that work?
into,
Like why?
I have
Like
no idea.
why is it any different for them than it is the NFL?
The NFL has a lot more capital to work with.
Okay. Portland.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
I guess the thing that I don't that I hope that they get away from is that of trying to limit themselves to going back to markets where there were previously XFL or USFL teams, trying to get away from that history and embrace. And I just hope that when it's time to expand, that they just embrace going into new markets where they have fans show up at the games. When you have where
Louisville
you have more franchises like St. Louis.
or Memphis. I don't know if
They've
people go to
there
Memphis, but
there's already a team in Memphis, and they're not
right.
drawing fans.
Oh, okay. Say Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah, could see Louisville.
Canton, like you said, would be a great one. Columbus, that's kind of Canton area, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Austin. Do they have an Austin team? I don't think they do.
they don't. They do not have.
How
an
about
Austin
move
team.
Arlington to Austin? DC to OKC. They have San Antonio. Houston needs to. Yeah, I think we've solved it. So, Austin to or Arlington to Austin. The Detroit to Canton. Houston to Houston can go to Salt Lake City. It can go to Portland. It can go to yeah, I think those are the two big ones.
Gotcha. So, in my opinion, I don't think I don't think that they should expand because you don't want to. While you're still trying to get your brand and get this brand of football solidified, where you have a market, I would give it one more year in the current markets. And if the teams are still having trouble getting fans into the seats, then I would start looking at relocating teams.
Here's the problem, though. You play everybody in your conference twice,
Mm-hmm.
and you play everybody in the entire thing at least once. Everyone in the league, you play everyone in the league once. You play everybody in the conference twice. That kind of feels slightly oversaturated.
So you think they need more teams?
I think if you add one more team or two more teams, if you had two teams, one to each team plays 4 teams twice, that's 8 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you need more than 8 games in that? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. To where if they could, so you're thinking 2, maybe 4 teams. If anything, 4 teams, to where they had 2,
Sure.
2 per conference.
Yep.
That's a good amount of teams.
So 2 per conference, you would, and if you played your conference twice, you would be at 10. You'd still be at 10 games. Like, I think that's huge. I don't think you need 10 games. I think 8 would have been fine. But
Or you you go off of the NFL, and it's not you're playing every team twice or your conference twice. Go with divisions, and you're going to play your division twice, to where maybe you have East and West subdivisions of each conference, and you to where you're playing your division twice, and the remaining part of your schedule goes off of a strength of schedule. So if you're an expansion team, obviously you don't have a record, so you just have the worst record
yeah,
in the leagues.
I don't know. I think either way, I think they need to. I think there's an overset. We've seen every team play each other. Yes, that means that like Birmingham was by far and away the best team. And yes, San Antonio beat
St. Louis.
St. Louis, and St. Louis was the best team in the conference. So, yeah, any given Sunday type situations, but is a game between Birmingham and San Antonio special when we've already... No, just a second time. Just a second.
Oh yeah, you're right. It would have been just the second time.
But
So,
we did see San Antonio play St. Louis 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, not a big fan of that. We'll have to see what happens.
Yeah. Do you think they come back? Do you think we're gonna get a year 2?
Yes.
Okay. I agree. I think they have investors involved. They have TV networks tied into this. I don't think that it's going to go away.
Yeah.
As long as the networks are making some money off of it, now they just need to grow the game in the markets.
Yeah.
And not just rely on the TV ratings being good enough to keep the league afloat.
Nope, totally agree. Okay, next, let's head. Do you see what's coming up next, Rich?
Is it a left-hand turn?
Yes, it is. And after that?
It's another left-hand turn, Mike.
And why is that, Rich?
Well, Mike, because we're going to go into the NASCAR Corner. The NASCAR Corner is presented by Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated, Moline, Illinois, down on 5th Avenue. Or you can also find them on eBay. Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated.
Last week we were at the Iowa Corn 350 at the Iowa Speedway in Newton. Halfway between you and me, Rich. And did you watch the race?
I did not get a chance to watch the race. We were doing Father's Day out down in Galesburg.
Okay.
Getting a chance to spend time with the family. We made it home in time to watch the last 30 laps.
My dad had small group, and so he got home for the last lap.
But it was a great. I thought it seemed like it was good racing. We saw the highlights on what happened, and it was great that Ryan Blaney won the race, as he had 87 family members in attendance, as they had a little bit of a family reunion at the race, as the Blaneys, I guess the wife's side, his mom's side of the Blaney family, is from Des Moines.
Yeah, just south of Des Moines, like 30 minutes, but still. No, that's exciting to see, and I'm glad that Blaney won. Locks him into the playoffs, and with that, Rich. Your racer of Joey Logano got 6th. The Hamburglar got caught and had to give it back as he finished 22nd. Rich, that moves you up to 11-10 on the year.
Yep, 11-10 between the two of us. So, Mike, this week they are at the Magic Mile in New Hampshire. The USA Today 301, where the winner gets a giant lobster.
Ooh. Is it a rock lobster?
It could be a rock lobster.
Rock lobster.
All right.
Rich, who are you going to pick?
I'm going to go with Christopher Bell. JGR does pretty well at this track. I thought about going Denny Hamlin, but I just don't want to see I don't want to root for Denny Hamlin. So I'm going to go Christopher Bell.
Why do you hate my guy?
I don't know what it is about Denny.
You hate my guy.
Just don't like him.
You just don't like the guy that I like. It's okay. I suppose I won't cry too much about it.
All right, Mike, and who are you going to go with?
I am gonna go with Chase Elliott. He's the pole sitter this week.
Okay.
You know, um, yeah, I did. Basically, that's the reason.
Okay. Not a bad choice. I like the pick of Chase Elliott. If I had more uses, he would probably be in my lineup. That was before looking at the app today and seeing the starting grid. But I only got 5 uses left of him on the fantasy NASCAR side, so I'm going to save those 5 uses.
Yeah, but that resets at the playoffs.
It does, but I want to make sure that I have. We got some road courses coming up, so I need Chase Elliott for those road courses.
Okay.
All right, so we had some news to come out of the NASCAR world, as we previously talked last week, saying that SHR was closing up shop and leaving, or a couple weeks ago, leaving 4 drivers with uncertain futures: Ryan Pierce, Chase Briscoe, Josh Berry, and Noah Gregerson. So, but we got news today that Haas Racing will be staying in NASCAR, as team owner Gene Haas will still field a one car entry in the NASCAR Cup Series. It is unknown which of well, we know one of them won't be coming back to stay in the Haas tooling car for next year, as it was leaked in a press conference that Christopher Bell said that Chase Briscoe will be taking over the number 19 and taking over Martin Truex's ride at the going into next season.
Yeah, that's a big leap there. I'm surprised he didn't get a slap on the wrist for that, but it happens. So, yeah, great to see that. I mean, Haas has all the money in the world. I mean, he makes the machines that make almost everything out of metal that you've ever seen. If you, not all of them, but he makes things what his family created and what they make. I mean, you've heard of a machine shop. Most of the machine shops use CNC machines. That Haas and about half to 2/3 of them are Haas machines. So yeah.
I did not know that. All I know about the Haas family is that it seems that every race, his company is at least sponsoring one of the cars, if not two.
Yeah.
Of his 4 cars in the field, with Haas having Haas tooling.
If you look up at Haas Automation, they are, they make CNC machines. I guarantee if you were allowed to go down to any of the machine shops that John Deere has, they're running these machines constantly. They are, they have some of the most advanced technology when it comes to them. I mean, heck, let me. I'm just gonna see if I can find a way to buy one of them. Just one of them.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So they don't even have it on their website where you can find the price, because they're like $1 million machines. Like each one of their things is $1 million machine. You know why? Because they make millions of dollars worth of things. Like, yeah, the Haas family could retire 20 years ago and never ever think about working again, and close the business, and they would have more money than they would ever need. So, here we go. 5-axis mill. Yeah, this is one of those things that if you have to ask the price, You can't afford it. So crazy.
Gotcha. And only because we have a little bit of airtime to work with this week, let's give a fantasy NASCAR.
Oh, I was
Um,
wrong, Rich. I'm sorry.
okay.
If you buy, I'm sorry. They're not $1 million machines.
Oh, okay.
They're worth millions of dollars to to the people that buy them. A 5-axis, it's 50 taper. The most expensive one is $438,995. There you go.
Okay.
Their cheapest one is $133,000 and whatnot. Like, these things are ridiculous. So, there you go.
All right. To wrap up the NASCAR corner, we'll take a look at our standings in going into the second race of the second half of the NASCAR season. The new Dupo is in third place with 28.63. Mike, you're the man in the middle with 29.78, and I am the leader of our group with 32.76. So make sure to set your lineups for the race, which is now going to start at 2 o'clock Eastern time. And you can catch that on the USA Network.
Just did.
All right, Mike, take us out.
This has been the NASCAR Corner, presented as always by Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated, Moline, Illinois. Check them out for all your sports memorabilia needs on 5th Avenue in Moline or on their eBay store. Once again, this is Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated. Rich, as we keep making left turns, let's head to some dirt as we run around the bases.
All right, Mike. So this week, the Cubbies had, our previous week, they had 2 with the Cardinals, 3 with the Giants, and 2 with the Mets. But our show-to-show prediction only included the Friday game against the Mets. So, Mike, you said they had 2. Our guest contributor, Nick, said 4 wins. And on the outline, I have 3, but I could have swore I said 2.
I think you did say
finally,
2 on the show, but
when I finally got a chance to, when I got to give my prediction for the win. So I'll go with 2. Mike, they were 500 this week as they finished 3-3. They did win today's game, which ended while we're on the air.
Nice. Speaking of which, I have some talking points that I need to point out so that
Okay.
our guest from last week sent some talking points in, and his talking points are: Council refuses to move Morel down in the order. He has come up twice today, bases loaded. This was yesterday. He came up twice yesterday, bases loaded, nobody outs, into a double play. Second and third, 2 outs, soft grounder to the pitcher is the other one. He has absolutely been a detriment to this team, and yet continues to bat cleanup. Yeah, so Morel is a weak point for the team right now, and I totally get it. And
I can agree with that. It seems like he's not afraid to move anybody else in that lineup around, other than whoever's catching normally is sitting 9th in our order.
Yeah.
Everybody else, and anybody else is shuffled around, but not Morel.
Yeah.
I think in today's game he was not in the cleanup spot. So I think he was a little lower in the lineup. So maybe he is coming off of that cleanup spot. There's still a lot of risk and reward with Morel. So maybe they're figuring, well, let's see what happens. Hopefully we get the boom instead of the bust.
Yeah.
With Krista Morel that particular game.
Yeah. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I don't think he's a long-term answer for this roster, but he's the best we got right now.
The hard part though is that I think Morel has a lot more potential than that. He has done much better in the past. Maybe he's over his. Maybe he's done and over with and can't do any better. I don't know. But man, it's been rough.
It has.
So,
What was the second point, Mike?
those were
Or,
his,
or was
that was his point.
okay?
Yeah.
That was his point on morale. I didn't get a chance to speak too much. It was starting to get really hot where I was set up last week. Um, but I don't know. I can understand Nick's frustrations, I guess, with Craig Counsell of is he really that much of a difference maker? But I don't think the team would be playing any better with David Ross if they had stuck with David Ross another year, or to where, and his bullpen management comments I think are a fair point to where, but Milwaukee, he had a great bullpen in Milwaukee, and he doesn't have that good of a bullpen here in Chicago. So it's kind of hard to blame all the bullpen management on him. Sometimes you got to go fall back on who the guys he's bringing in.
Yeah. No, I totally get it, and I don't disagree. I think both. I think he had some great points, and Nick, I don't.
Oh yeah,
I think
he had great points.
I think he was accurate in a lot of what he said. I don't think Craig Counsell is 100% the problem. I think there's a ton of issues with how the team was built, but we're kind of in that spot right now. So,
yep.
With that, Rich, 1 against the Mets, 4 against the Giants, 1 against the Brewers. Show to show. What do you got?
Well, Mike, it's tough because they are going on the road. They're facing the division leader Brewers. At least they're getting the Giants again, who they took 2 or 3 from. So I think I'll go 3 games this week.
Man, I like that. I'm actually going to give them 4 games this week.
Okay.
And that's going to be what I do. Rich, sad news to come out of baseball this week. Probably, this is going to sound terrible, but I'm going to say the biggest, as in popularity, African-American star in Major League Baseball passed away this week.
Yeah, the Say Hey Kid, Willie Mays, passed away at 93.
Yeah, really sad, but we're at that spot where, I mean, it's not surprising. I mean, Donald Sutherland died this week. It's been a rough week. I mean, if it's not for Willie Mays, you look at some of the guys in baseball even today, and it's because of Willie Mays. Now they might not say, "Oh, you can't like this," blah blah blah. No, you're right. It might not be directly because of Willie Mays, but I guarantee you, everyone today who's playing today, whoever they point at, and it might be 2 generations removed, because we're getting old, so it might be 2 or 3 generations removed. Ken Griffey Jr. plays not just because of his dad, not just because of Willie Mays, but because of his dad. But Willie Mays is a lot of the reason why Ken Griffey Jr. played. Why are the guys today playing? A lot of them, Ken Griffey Jr. If not Ken Griffey Jr., somebody directly. So Willie Mays is the most influential player, African-American player in baseball. I know that people say, Jackie Robinson, what about Jackie? Yes, Jackie Robinson broke the barrier. But Willie Mays broke the barrier in people's hearts.
Okay.
Because when you look at baseball, yes, Jackie Robinson breaks the barrier. Other people start, letting it, more African Americans start coming into the game. But there was still that stigma around African Americans, and people were like, and when Willie Mays comes in, changes everything. So, yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of Willie Mays, we had the first MLB at Rickwood game, Rickwood Field, who ends up being the oldest professional baseball field in America, as it predates Fenway and Wrigley,
Yeah.
as it was built, I think, like in 1910. Played host to the Birmingham Black Barons, were the main tenant of the team with their time in the Negro leagues.
Yeah. Um,
So I didn't get a chance to watch the game. I watched pregame, and where they had some great historical pieces and interviews with Hall of Famers like Ken Griffey and Reggie Jackson and Barry Bonds. So it was neat how they presented the game. I was kind of bummed that I didn't get to watch it, but went out to Iron Tea with some guys from our small group
yeah.
instead.
I watched very small bits and pieces. My dad watched most of the start of it stuff. Um, so apparently, and this is not a joke, but apparently Willie Mays was scheduled to be there, but got sick and passed away like 3 days later. So
Yeah, I think a week before the game, the family announced that he would not be able to go down to Birmingham to be a part of the
yeah,
festivities.
was supposed to and was planning on it, but about a
Mhm.
week before it was to the
Yeah,
point that he couldn't, and then it obviously, I mean, he passed away. So
yeah. Amongst all the before watching some of the pregame and them talking about Willie Mays and his connection to Rick Wood, I was kind of scratching my head. I was like, why did they choose the Cardinals and the Giants
yeah,
for a game? Because you don't think of when you think of the Negro leagues, looking at the historical teams that played in that league, you don't think of a team. You don't think of teams from St. Louis and San Francisco. You think of the Kansas City Monarchs or the New York Cubans, the Black Yankees. So but I think getting the Giants in the first one was the right move, since they have a Hall of Fame great player from that franchise that had a connection to it. So I hope they keep up the Rickwood game as a around um, yeah,
yeah,
as a celebration of like Juneteenth and as a salute to the Negro Leagues, so that you can still talk about the history of that game. I'm kind of disappointed that they only did it as one game. You'd think that because I heard that there were concerns about the amount of seats in there, that you were going to price out the market that it's being played in. So
yeah,
you'd think that you'd want to do a series there, not just a one-off game.
yeah. And I'm sure I'm again. I hope they do more. I mean, it's the same way that the first game at Iowa at the Field of Dreams game. I
Yeah,
I did spend $140 a ticket. I think is what it ended up being. And it was worth it. But again, when I called you, you were like, "That's I can't. You couldn't spend that much money."
I couldn't do it.
And
My wife said after the fact, we could have made it work, but in my mind, $140 was a little bit much for a drop of the hat, last minute thing to
and
do
I
it.
get it, and I don't blame you. I should I have done it? I don't know. I made it. We made it work. It wasn't a big deal, but yeah, the concept that like that's too much for baseball fans. Heck, going to Wrigley sometimes is hard when you think that between you and your wife you're probably spending 120 $130 for tickets, and then you got to buy food and gas to get up there. You're spending $300-400
Hmm.
on a day trip. And I mean, and if you want to roll that out, how about the NFL?
Exactly. The NFL is crazy expensive.
I bought 4 tickets. I shouldn't. I
That's
I
not
bought 4
important.
tickets.
You bought 4 tickets.
And it was extremely like for the price of those 4 tickets. By the way, we were in the upper deck. We were in the front row of the upper deck. So they ended up being pretty good seats. I loved the seats a lot. It was great. But for the price of those 4 tickets, legitimately I could buy a used motorcycle at least that still has a lot of life left in it.
Yeah, but but that's the thing with these one-off games. It's one game.
Yeah.
That's it. It isn't like you're going to, and with an NFL game, you get eight home games, 8 or 7 home games. So that's why you can charge more. Where a baseball game, you at least have 162, so about 82 home dates to fill.
Okay, so Rich, this is crazy to me. How much now? Again, if you were able to buy them directly, apparently, how much do you think the starting price was?
Let's see. You were told 140 for Field of Dreams. Rickwood's a little bit bigger. So, I'll go 95.
$30.
Really? Okay. $30. That's direct from the source, not on a secondary market. So that's fair. That's good to hear that they didn't try to get the price the market out for a one-off game. So, like I said, I hope I'd like to see them do more games at Rickwood. Make it a whole weekend going Thursday through Sunday. Maybe you don't have one team play there. Maybe you have 2 major league teams do a 2-game series down there.
Yeah.
To have 2 of them do it on the 19th and the 20th, and then bring in 2 different teams for the Saturday-Sunday game, for the Saturday-Sunday of it. So make it a game. I think with Birmingham, Alabama being a much bigger city than Dyersville, Iowa, I think you could do more games there. Whereas Dyersville, Iowa, as much as I'd love to see an entire series in Dyersville, it's a little bit harder to get the Dyersville for teams than it is than Birmingham, Alabama.
For the first Field of Dream games, ticket prices started at $85. Now,
okay,
by the time I got to them, they were obviously significantly more expensive. But it was, yeah. So, anyway, with that, Rich, anything else about baseball that you want to talk about?
I do not. So
Okay.
we can go ahead and go into our last topic, which is a leftover from last week, being Caitlin Clark being passed over for the Olympics.
She hasn't been playing at the level that people expected her to. I don't think she's one of the top 5 on the team. In the NBA, in the WNBA right now. I don't know that she's even a top 10. But is the roster 25?
I think they do I would imagine just like an NBA roster, you would have 12. Where you get a 12 you get a 12, the team is 12. So I mean, I can agree with it, and I just would have liked them to have come up with a better reason. They let it leak that they were concerned that with her popularity and her fan base, that they would be upset if she was the 12th person on the bench and didn't get much playing time.
Yeah, so they only get 12 people.
Is she a top 12 player? Because a lot of the people in the WNBA, not too many of them have dual citizenship, where you're going to see
Yeah.
team, potentially multiple WNBA players playing for different countries.
I think Brianna Stewart. I think she's probably better than Brianna Stewart. Yeah, there's a few people better that I think she's better than on here.
But some people are also on that team based because of their past success.
And that's
Their
true.
past success and a legacy.
Yeah.
Thinking back to the 92 Dream Team, was Christian Leitner anywhere within the same
No.
conversation as his 11 teammates?
No, and I'm not mad about it. I think that there are people that she's better than, but I also think that
But with the players on that team, would she have been in the starting lineup?
No.
Would she have been maybe in the rotation? Maybe. But she probably is the 11th or 12th person on that bench, on that depth chart.
Yeah.
With the other players on the team. At the same time, she is a rookie.
Yep.
So there are some things that you have to earn. And the Olympic team is one of them. She'll probably be an all-star because that's based on fan voting.
Oh yeah.
But the Olympic team doesn't take into effect popularity. So I don't think that's.
Yeah.
I don't think her popularity would have brought any extra eyes to the women's basketball games.
Nope.
They could have, but
yeah,
they also could have been turned off because they saw the only way they're going to see her is by jumping up and giving high fives as players are coming off the court.
Yep. So Rich,
but she'll probably be there next year though. The next round when the Olympics come to LA though.
Yeah, I think that'll happen. With that, any shout outs for the show?
I got to give a shout out to Grandma Lehman's. Was her birthday. Yeah, her birthday. I think they said 88 years young. So.
Yeah. I was the one that Mike Sable, who has contributed to the show a few times and added some stuff. 100%. We got to wish him a happy birthday. He had a birthday Wednesday. He turned 39, so next year, big one for him. So with that, Rich, what's it time to do?
Mike, let's go ahead and roll that outro.
Broadcasting live from somewhere in Iowa, this is Balls and Sticks, the podcast with your hosts, Mike and Rich.